She's not family enough to be here. Claire's voice cut through the speakerphone like broken glass. Unaware, I was standing 3 feet behind our mother in the kitchen. My laptop screen still glowed with the Maldives resort confirmation. 40 $70 for the dream vacation I'd saved 3 years to afford. Every overtime hour, every skipped lunch, every sacrifice crystallizing into 7 perfect days. The same 7 days my sister had just chosen for her destination wedding. The wedding where 247 guests would celebrate her love story, while her only sister discovered she wasn't worth a +1. Mom's hand trembled as she held the phone, her eyes finding mine with that familiar look. Part pity, part relief. It wasn't her being excluded this time. "But honey, she's your sister," Mom whispered, still trying, still failing to understand that blood meant nothing to Claire if it didn't come with a Stanford degree and a surgeon fiancé. "Mom, we've been through this." Claire's sigh traveled through the speaker. The same exasperated sound she'd perfected when I was 12 and asked to join her sleepover. "The venue has strict limits. We're keeping it intimate. Just our closest friends and family who've been part of our journey." I watched my name crossed out in red ink on her wedding planner screen. She'd accidentally shared her Google Drive with me 3 weeks ago. Next to the deletion, her neat handwriting, drama risk, better without. Tell Mom venue limits. The laptop's blue light illuminated my reflection in the window. Tired eyes, coffee-stained MIT hoodie, the face of someone who'd spent 18 months building her first startup, while Claire posted engagement photos. She got the ring, I got the term sheet. She planned centerpieces, I planned product launches. Yet here I stood, apparently too much of a drama risk to watch my only sister say I do. "Sarah understands," Claire continued, her voice honey-sweet with false concern. "She's always been the independent one. Probably has some coding project that weekend anyway, right? You know how she disappears into her computer world." Computer world. That's what she called the company I'd built from my studio apartment, surviving on ramen and determination while she lived off her trust fund and called it Finding Herself. The same computer world that just closed a Series A funding round nobody in my family knew about because they'd never asked. I could have interrupted, could have grabbed the phone and demanded answers, could have told her about the promotion to CTO, the Forbes interview, the acquisition offers I'd turned down. But I didn't, because you learn things in silence that noise never teaches you. You learn that family isn't who shares your DNA. It's who shows up when the code won't compile at 3 a.m., who celebrates your first user milestone, who sees your worth beyond your relationship status or wedding invitation list. "Oh, and Mom," Claire's voice perked up with practiced enthusiasm. "Did I mention we're having the ceremony at the Waldorf Astoria in the Maldives? The one with the underwater restaurant? Jessica, you remember my roommate from Yale? Her father owns a stake in the resort chain, so we got the most incredible rate. It's going to be absolutely magical. The Waldorf Astoria." My cursor hovered over the exact same resort on my screen, where I'd booked the Stella Maris Villa, the 2-story overwater paradise Claire had pinned to her Dream Life Pinterest board 3 years ago. Back when we still shared dreams, before she decided I wasn't aesthetic enough for her curated life. "That sounds wonderful, sweetheart," Mom cooed, shooting me another helpless glance. "I'm sure Sarah will understand, won't you, honey?" I nodded, not trusting my voice. Understanding was my superpower after all. Understanding why I wasn't in family Christmas photos, because my startup hoodie clashed with the color scheme. Understanding why my achievements were footnotes to Claire's engagement announcement. Understanding that in her world, I was the NPC, the non-player character, who existed only to make her story more interesting by contrast. Perfect, Claire chirped. Oh, and Mom, about the rehearsal dinner. I closed my laptop and walked upstairs, each step measured and deliberate. In my room, I pulled out the journal I'd kept since college, flipping to a page from 2 years ago. One day, success won't need their validation. One day, silence will speak louder than their approval. That day had arrived wrapped in a wedding invitation that would never come. I opened my laptop again and typed an email to my assistant. Move all my meetings for the first week of May. I'll be taking that Maldives trip after all. Book the business class upgrade and confirm the villa. Also, see if the resort has availability for a private event. I want to celebrate our Series B announcement somewhere special. The same week, the same resort, the same dream, but an entirely different story. Because Claire was right about one thing, I did understand. I understood that the best revenge isn't served cold. Sometimes it's served at exactly 85 degrees Fahrenheit, with an infinity pool view and a company valuation that would make her wedding budget look like pocket change. Family doesn't choose you, but you can choose your response. And sometimes the most powerful response is building a life so beautiful they realize too late what they excluded themselves from. The art of being forgotten is something you perfect over years, like a pianist practicing scales until their fingers move without thought. I became a master of it by age 7, the day Claire won her first beauty pageant, and I fixed the sound system that almost ruined her performance. She got the crown, I got a pat on the head, and instructions to stay backstage, where you won't be in the photos. That became our rhythm, Claire in spotlight, me in the shadows, making sure the spotlight worked. By high school, the pattern was carved in stone. Claire was student body president, head cheerleader, dating the quarterback, in a story so cliché it could have been scripted by a lazy Hollywood writer. I was the girl who started the robotics club, won the state science fair, and got early admission to MIT, achievements that earned exactly 3 minutes of dinner conversation, before Claire announced she'd been nominated for Homecoming Queen. "You're so lucky," she'd tell me, sprawled across my bed while I debugged code at 2 a.m. "You don't have the pressure I have. Everyone expects me to be perfect. You can just be yourself." Being myself apparently meant being invisible. It meant watching Dad teach Claire to drive in the Mercedes while I took the bus to my internship. It meant Mom spending $30,000 on Claire's Sweet 16, but forgetting to plan anything for mine, because it fell during Claire's SAT prep month. It meant being cropped out of the family Instagram posts, because my thrift store finds didn't match the aesthetic. Sarah's doing her computer thing became Mom's standard explanation for my absence at family events. Not Sarah's building an app that helps domestic violence survivors find safe housing. Not Sarah just got promoted to lead developer at 22. Just her computer thing. Like I was playing solitaire instead of solving problems that mattered. The breaking point should have been graduation. I'd worked 4 years for that MIT diploma, surviving on 3 hours of sleep and a diet of determination. My family promised they'd be there. They were, for exactly 45 minutes. Claire had a spa appointment for her engagement party that evening, and family supports family. Mom explained as they left before I'd even found them in the crowd. I watched them go, my honors cords heavy around my neck, my summa cum laude achievement as invisible as I was. But here's what they never understood about invisible people. We see everything. We hear the conversations you have. When you think we're not listening, we notice the patterns, the priorities, the careful calculations of who matters and who doesn't. We become anthropologists of our own families, studying the dynamics like code to be debugged. I started keeping a journal that night, not of hurt feelings but of observations. May 15th, Mom spent 3 hours helping Claire choose napkin colors. Didn't ask about my final project presentation. June 2nd, Dad flew to Claire's boyfriend's graduation. Missed mine due to a work emergency, golf tournament. July 20th, family group chat, 47 messages about Claire's wedding venue. 0 acknowledgement of my job offer from Google. The journal became my compass, each entry a coordinate, plotting my course away from their indifference. I learned to celebrate myself in coffee shops with strangers who became friends, in online communities where Sarah's computer thing was revolutionary, in mentor meetings where successful women saw potential my family couldn't imagine. "Why don't you date like your sister?" Mom asked once, watching me work on a Saturday night, while Claire got ready for another charity gala with Preston, the surgeon who looked like he'd been ordered from a catalog called Acceptable Son-in-Laws Quarterly. "I'm building something," I told her, "but don't you want someone to take care of you?" I looked at my screen, user testimonials from women whose lives had been changed by my app. Women who'd escaped abuse, found jobs, rebuilt their lives with dignity. I'm learning to take care of myself first. Then maybe I'll find someone who sees that as strength, not a flaw. Mom sighed and returned to helping Claire choose between ivory and pearl white, while I returned to my code. The irony wasn't lost on me. Claire needed a man to complete her story, while I was writing my own. The universe has a strange way of preparing you for your purpose. Every dismissal taught me self-reliance. Every oversight taught me observation. Every "why can't you be more like Claire?" taught me that being myself was the only rebellion worth staging. I stopped trying to earn a seat at their table and started building my own. The last entry in that journal, written the night before, I incorporated my company. Invisible isn't worthless, it's freedom. It's building without judgment, growing without limits, succeeding without permission. They gave me the greatest gift by forgetting me. They taught me I don't need to be remembered by people who never saw me in the first place. 6 months later, TechCrunch ran a feature on the invisible founder making waves in Silicon Valley. They never knew it was about me. After all, I was just doing my computer thing. The opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference. But sometimes being treated with indifference is the push you need to fall in love with yourself. Claire's engagement party was held at the St. Regis because of course it was. Everything in her life had to be Instagram perfect. From the rose gold balloons spelling blessed to the champagne wall where guests could pluck their drinks like flowers from a garden of privilege. I arrived late, laptop bag slung over my shoulder, having come straight from a pitch meeting that could change everything. "Sarah, finally!" Mom grabbed my arm, her eyes scanning my outfit, a simple black dress and flats. "Couldn't you have tried a bit more? Claire's friends from Yale are here." Claire's friends from Yale. Not my potential investors from Sand Hill Road. Not the users whose lives had been transformed by my platform, just Claire's friends, whose approval apparently determined my worth in this marble-wrapped universe. "I brought my gift," I said, pulling out my laptop. "Something special I've been working on." For 3 weeks, I'd coded every night after my regular job, building Claire and Preston a custom wedding website. Not some template from the Knot, but a living, breathing digital story of their relationship. Interactive timelines, guest photo sharing, AI-powered seating arrangements based on personality compatibility, even a virtual reality preview of their venue. It was my love letter to a sister who'd forgotten I existed, coded in JavaScript and Hope. "Oh, how technical," Claire said when I showed her, her smile rigid as her Botox. Her bridesmaids gathered around, cooing politely while their eyes glazed over. "That's so you, Sarah, always with the computers." "Let me show you the best part," I said, clicking through to the sentiment analysis feature that would create a word cloud from guest messages, building a real-time visualization of their love through others' eyes. "Maybe later," Preston interrupted, checking his Rolex. "The photographer needs us for golden hour shots." I watched them glide away, beautiful and untouchable, while I closed my laptop on weeks of work dismissed in seconds. The website auto-saved to the cloud, another creation orphaned by their indifference. I was pouring champagne, the cheap stuff they'd relegated to the back bar, when I heard Claire's voice from the kitchen, clear as code through a debugger. God, she's so desperate for attention. Like, "We get it, you can code, big deal." Maybe if she spent less time on computers and more time on her appearance, she'd have a wedding to plan too. I mean, look at her. She shows up to my engagement party looking like she's going to a hackathon. It's embarrassing. "Babe, that's harsh," Preston's voice, mild protest wrapped in privilege. "Is it though? I'm just tired of pretending her little apps are some big achievement. You know what's an achievement? Getting into Yale, landing a surgeon, building a life people actually want to follow on social media. Not hiding behind a screen making, what does she even make? Some website for sad women? Please." The champagne flute slipped from my hand, shattering on Italian marble. The sound brought faces turning, including Claire's bridesmaids who'd clearly heard everything. Their eyes, some pitying, some amused, found mine across the room. I didn't cry, didn't storm into the kitchen for confrontation, didn't give them the drama Claire had predicted when she'd labeled me a risk. Instead, I bent down, carefully picking up each piece of glass, with the same precision I used to debug code. When a waiter rushed over to help, I waved him off. "I've got it," I said. "I'm good at cleaning up messes quietly." I disposed of the glass, washed my hands, and walked back through the party like a ghost nobody noticed. At the valet stand, while waiting for my 8-year-old Honda between the Maseratis and Teslas, I made a decision that would change everything. I didn't go home. I drove straight to the airport. "1 ticket to Bangkok," I told the agent at the counter, "whatever leaves soonest." "That's in 3 hours. One way?" "One way." I bought the ticket with my emergency credit card, the one I'd saved for when my startup either failed spectacularly or succeeded beyond dreams. This felt like both and neither, a different kind of emergency, the kind where you need to save yourself from disappearing entirely. 27 hours later, I woke up in Thailand with no plan except to be somewhere Claire's voice couldn't reach. Bangkok was chaos and clarity. I found myself at a co-working space in Niman, surrounded by digital nomads who introduce themselves by their projects, not their pedigrees. I'm building an app for ethical fashion tracking. I'm disrupting agricultural supply chains. I'm democratizing financial literacy for Southeast Asia. What about you? Asked Luna, a developer from Barcelona with paint-stained fingers and kind eyes. I built platforms for women escaping domestic violence, digital safe houses, job matching, encrypted support networks. She leaned forward. That sounds like important work. Why past tense? I thought about Claire's words, about the shattered champagne flute, about a lifetime of being the bug in their perfect family code. My family thinks it's just my computer thing. Maybe they're right. Maybe I'm just... Bullshit! Luna's interruption was sharp as a breakpoint. You know what I see? Someone who chose to solve real problems instead of decorating her life for likes. That's not just anything, that's everything. We talked until sunrise, then coded until sunset. She introduced me to her network, founders, funders, philosophers of the digital age who saw my work not as a hobby, but as a revolution. They asked about my metrics, my impact stories, my scaling plans. They used words like visionary and essential, and when you IPO, not if. I extended my stay. 1 week became 2, then 4. I redesigned my entire platform on a beach in Koh Phangan, tested new features in Chiang Mai co-living spaces, pitched to investors over tom yum soup in restaurants without English menus. My journal filled with business models instead of family disappointments. The girl who'd boarded that plane with shattered champagne dreams deplaned 6 weeks later as Alexandra Chen, founder and CEO. The middle name I'd hidden became my professional identity. The work dismissed as sad women's websites evolved into a platform featured in international development conferences. You look different, Mom said when I finally returned, tanned and clear-eyed. Did you meet someone? Yes, I said, not mentioning that the someone was myself. Claire never asked where I'd been. The wedding website I'd built remained untouched in the cloud, gathering digital dust like abandoned dreams. But I'd stopped checking if she'd logged in. I had users who needed me, investors who believed in me, a vision that had nothing to do with being seen by people determined to look through me. Sometimes the best response to being called desperate for attention is to become too successful to notice who's watching. The morning after I returned from Thailand, I legally became Alexandra Chen. Not a full abandonment of Sarah. She still existed on family birthday cards and dutiful holiday visits. But professionally, Sarah was dead and Alexandra was born hungry. Why the name change? My lawyer asked, notarizing the DBA paperwork. Clean slate, I said. New markets respond better to names that don't carry baggage. The truth was simpler. I needed to build something so entirely mine that even if my family stumbled across it, they wouldn't recognize their invisible daughter in the founder's story. While Claire spent her days in bridal boutiques debating between Vera Wang and Monique L'Huillier, I was in a converted garage in Palo Alto, surviving on cold brew and conviction. My team, 5 brilliant women I'd found in Facebook groups and Discord channels, believed in the vision with religious fervor. We called ourselves the Underground Railroad 2.0, building digital pathways to freedom for women trapped in impossible situations. The numbers told a story Claire's Instagram followers would never see. Month 1, 500 users. Month 3, 5,000 users. Month 6, 50,000 users. Each user represented a woman who'd escaped abuse, found emergency housing through our network, secured employment via our job board, or rebuilt their identity with our document assistance program. Their testimonials became my new family album. Alexandra's platform saved my life. I left with nothing but my daughter and phone. 3 months later, I have a job, an apartment, and hope. The encryption features meant my ex couldn't track me. It's been a year. We're safe because of this app. While Claire posted wedding countdown photos, 182 days until I marry my best friend, I was in conference rooms where venture capitalists leaned forward instead of checking their phones. Your user retention is exceptional, said Patricia Wong from Google Ventures, studying our metrics. 92% monthly active users. That's unheard of in social impact tech. When your platform literally saves lives, users don't churn, I replied. The funding conversations accelerated alongside Claire's wedding planning. She hired a coordinator for $15,000. I hired a CTO for equity. She tasted 7-tier cake samples. I pitched to 17 different funds. She agonized over color palettes. I optimized our algorithm to predict abuse escalation patterns with 87% accuracy. Then came the email that changed everything. Subject: Google Ventures, term sheet attached. Alexandra, we're in. 15-minute Series A at a $75 million valuation. Welcome to the portfolio. I read it 3 times, then called Luna in Barcelona. We did it. No, she corrected. You did it. While they were planning parties, you were planning liberation. The irony of timing wasn't lost on me. Claire sent save the dates the same week TechCrunch broke the funding story. Mysterious founder Alexandra Chen raises $15 million for women's safety platform. The article included a shadowy photo. My insistence on privacy had created an air of mystery that only amplified interest. Forbes called. Fortune wanted an interview. The Wall Street Journal ran a feature on the invisible unicorns, startups solving real problems. My family never connected the dots. Why would they? Sarah did computer things. Alexandra Chen was changing the world. The Maldives connection came through pure cosmic comedy. During due diligence, Patricia mentioned Google Ventures' partnership with several luxury resort chains for executive retreats. We've found that breakthrough thinking happens in breakthrough locations, she explained. The Waldorf Astoria in the Maldives is particularly popular. Actually, we're investors in the parent company. Portfolio companies get preferred rates and exclusive venue access. My poker face held steady. Interesting, when you say exclusive access. Private beaches, closed restaurants for company events, the Stella Maris Villa, that 2-story water palace everyone wants. It's yours whenever you need it. Consider it a signing bonus. Claire's dream honeymoon villa, my corporate retreat. I built 2 lives in parallel that year. Sarah attended family dinners, smiled at wedding dress photos, and listened to Claire complain about flower arrangements. Alexandra keynoted conferences, closed partnership deals, and expanded into 3 new countries. Sarah spent Christmas morning opening pajamas from Mom. Alexandra spent Christmas Eve on a call with refugees in Turkey, troubleshooting server issues that meant life or death. You seem different, Dad observed at Claire's rehearsal dinner. More settled. Just focused on work, I replied, the understatement of the century tucked between bites of overpriced salmon. Maybe you should focus less on work and more on finding someone, Claire suggested. Preston's arm draped around her like a trophy sash. I could set you up with Preston's friend from medical school. He doesn't mind career women. Career women! like it was a condition to be tolerated rather than celebrated. "I'm good," I said, thinking of the acquisition offers I'd turned down that week, the expansion plans sketched on my apartment walls, the team of 47 people who called me CEO. "You can't be alone forever, Sarah." Mom's concern was genuine, which somehow made it worse. "Claire's right. You need balance." Balance. I thought of the women whose messages filled my inbox daily. Women who'd found jobs, homes, freedom, dignity. Women who named their daughters after my middle name without knowing it was really mine. Women whose lives had been balanced on a knife's edge until our platform caught them. "I'll think about it," I lied, the same lie I'd perfected over years of being invisible. They returned to wedding talk, the drama with the florist, the crisis with the custom napkins, the catastrophe of the wrong shade of gold on the invitation envelopes. I smiled and nodded, playing the supporting role they'd cast me in since birth, while mentally reviewing the speech I'd give at Web Summit in Lisbon. The same week as the wedding, the same industry conference where we'd announce our global expansion. The same stage where Alexandra Chen would become a name nobody could ignore, while Sarah remained invisible at a wedding she wasn't invited to attend. That night, I found an old photo from MIT, my acceptance letter day. 18-year-old me holding that envelope like a lifeline, eyes bright with dreams of changing the world. She had no idea she'd have to disappear first, no idea that being forgotten by family would teach her to be unforgettable to strangers, no idea that Claire's casual cruelty would forge Alexandra's fierce compassion. "Thank you," I whispered to that girl, "for not giving up, for choosing to build instead of beg, for understanding that some tables aren't worth sitting at when you can build your own banquet. Success isn't the best revenge, it's the best response. Build something so beautiful, so necessary, so undeniable, that their opinion becomes irrelevant. That's not revenge, that's evolution." 3 days before Claire's wedding, I landed in the Maldives with my executive team. 14 of my brightest minds, the people who'd helped build a $200 million company from a shattered champagne flute and a one-way ticket to Thailand. We descended the private jet stairs. Yes, Google Ventures had insisted on the upgrade, like warriors arriving for a different kind of battle. "Alexandra!" The resort manager rushed across the tarmac, his smile worth more than Claire's entire wedding budget. "Such an honor to have you back. The Stella Maris Villa is prepared as requested, and we've arranged the private beach for your announcement ceremony." Back. Because this wasn't my first time here. I'd done a soft launch 3 months earlier, scouting locations for exactly this moment. Claire thought she'd discovered paradise through Jessica's father. I'd been mapping its coordinates since my Series A closed. "Ms. Chen," the manager continued, practically vibrating with excitement, "given your company's partnership with our parent group, we've upgraded your entire team. Overwater bungalows for everyone. And the underwater restaurant is yours exclusively tomorrow evening." My CMO Priya raised an eyebrow. "Partnership?" "Small detail I forgot to mention," I said, watching staff load our equipment. Broadcast cameras for the announcement, satellite uplinks for global streaming, the infrastructure of an empire built on code and conscience. We're considering them for our Safe House network, discrete locations for women needing to disappear safely. The irony wasn't lost on Priya. She knew my story, not the family details, but enough. So this is what poetic justice looks like in paradise. The Stella Maris Villa exceeded even Pinterest dreams. 2 floors of water-wrapped perfection, an infinity pool that bled into ocean, technology seamlessly integrated into sustainable luxury. I set up my laptop on the deck, where Claire's wedding photos would inevitably be staged, the same view she'd drooled over in bridal magazines. "We're really doing this?" asked Marcus, my CTO, watching the sunset paint everything gold. "Announcing the IPO from here?" "Where else?" I replied. "The world should know that companies worth billions can be born from being told you're worth nothing." For 2 days, we worked in paradise, strategy sessions on paddleboards, code reviews in cabanas, board calls from the beach. My team thought I was a genius for choosing this location. They didn't know I was fulfilling a promise to 18-year-old Sarah. Someday we'll be here because we earned it, not because we begged for an invitation. The collision happened at sunset on day 3. I was on the villa's deck with Patricia from Google Ventures and 3 other board members discussing the IPO timeline. Champagne, the good stuff crystal, because we could, sparkled in glasses as we mapped out a future where our valuation would hit unicorn status. "The numbers are staggering," Patricia was saying. "At current growth, we're looking at a $1.2 billion valuation within 18 months. Alexandra, you've built something." "Oh my God!" Claire's voice cut through our conversation like a syntax error in perfect code. She stood on the beach below, wedding photographer in tow, her bridesmaids arranged like backup dancers in complimentary pastels. The golden hour shoot she'd planned for months, the photos that would flood Instagram with Nigger Blessed Bride hashtags, had led her directly to my deck. Our eyes met across 20 feet of vertical distance and a lifetime of horizontal separation. "Sarah?" Her voice climbed octaves, confusion wrestling with recognition. "Why are you?" The photographer, a man with an artist's eye and a tech enthusiast's knowledge, did a double take that belonged in a comedy sketch. His camera lowered slowly, mouth opening wider with each second. "Holy shit," he breathed, then louder, "Holy shit, you're Alexandra Chen." The name detonated in the beach's peaceful air. Claire's bridesmaids, Yale graduates who definitely read TechCrunch, began frantically whispering and pulling out phones. The photographer abandoned Claire entirely, his artistic vision replaced by fanboy enthusiasm. "I just read about you in Wired, the mysterious founder who won't do face reveals. Your platform saved my sister-in-law. She escaped her ex using your app. Would you mind? God, this is incredible. Claire, you didn't tell me you knew Alexandra Chen." "I don't," Claire said faintly. That's my sister, Sarah." "Your sister is Alexandra Chen?" The photographer's voice hit frequencies that disturbed nearby seabirds. "The Alexandra Chen, Forbes 30 under 30? The woman who just signed a $100 million deal with the UN." One bridesmaid, Jessica of the Connected Father, held up her phone with shaking hands. "It says here her net worth is, Claire, your sister is worth how much?" The numbers hung in the air like humidity. Claire's face cycled through expressions like a loading screen. Confusion, disbelief, anger, something that might have been fear. Her perfect beach tableau dissolved as her bridesmaids clustered around phones, reading aloud from articles about the mysterious CEO who'd built an empire while staying invisible. Time magazine called her the ghost who saves lives. Business Insider says she turned down a $500 million acquisition offer from Meta. There's a whole Reddit thread trying to figure out her identity. I stood on my deck, board members beside me, watching my carefully separated worlds collide with the force of tectonic plates. Patricia, ever the professional, understood immediately. "Family?" she asked quietly. "Something like that," I replied, then louder, addressing the beach congregation. "Please don't let us interrupt your photo shoot. The light won't last much longer." But the photographer had abandoned all pretense of wedding documentation. "Ms. Chen, I know this is irregular, but my daughter, she's studying computer science, wants to build apps that matter. Could I possibly get a photo? She'd die knowing I met you. You're literally her hero." Claire stood frozen in her $12,000 Galia Lahav gown, watching her wedding photographer grovel for my attention. The same sister she'd called desperate for attention. The same computer thing she'd mocked. The same invisible girl who'd learned to disappear so well she'd rematerialized as someone else entirely. "Of course," I said, "because grace costs nothing and means everything. In fact, give me your daughter's contact. We have an internship program for young women in tech." I descended to the beach, my board following like disciples. Up close, Claire's makeup couldn't hide her shock. Her bridesmaids parted like the Red Sea, their whispers creating a soundtrack of revelation. She flew here on a private jet. That's the villa Claire wanted but couldn't afford. "Oh my God, she's announcing something tomorrow. It's all over tech Twitter." The photographer took his photo, babbling gratitude, while Claire watched her special moment evaporate. I smiled, shook hands, played the gracious CEO, while my sister calculated the impossible math of how Sarah plus silence equaled Alexandra. "Sarah," she finally managed, "we need to talk." Actually, I checked my Patek Philippe, a gift from the board after our Series B closed. "I have a call with Singapore in 10 minutes. IPO prep waits for no one. But congratulations on your wedding. I'm sure it'll be beautiful." I turned to leave, then paused, remembering the girl who'd sobbed in bathroom stalls after being excluded from family photos. "Claire, that website I built for your wedding, the password is still your birthday. Consider it my gift. No one else could give you a platform worth $2 million in development costs." The photographer actually gasped. Claire's mouth opened, but no sound emerged. Her bridesmaids' phones captured everything, the moment already becoming legend in group chats across continents. I walked back to my villa, where my real family, the team who'd believed in Invisible Sarah until she became undeniable Alexandra, waited with champagne and understanding. "So," Priya said, refilling my glass, "that's the sister who didn't invite you?" "That's the sister who did me a favor," I corrected. "Rejection is just redirection. She redirected me to all of you. The best plot twist isn't revealing your success to those who doubted you. It's realizing their doubt no longer matters to your story." The knock came at 11:47 p.m., soft but insistent, like a bug in code demanding attention. I knew who it was before opening the door. Desperation has a specific rhythm, and Claire had been practicing it all her life. She stood on my villa's threshold in resort pajamas and smeared mascara, looking more human than I'd seen her in years. Behind her, the ocean whispered secrets while somewhere across the island, her wedding guests slept off welcome party cocktails, unaware the bride was having an existential crisis in paradise. "Can I come in?" Her voice was small, stripped of its usual Instagram filter. I stepped aside, gesturing to the living room where my laptop glowed with tomorrow's presentation slides. Taking Mentorsphere public, a founder's journey. She paused at the coffee table, staring at the financial projections that could have funded 1,000 weddings. Why didn't you tell me? She collapsed onto the couch like her strings had been cut. All this time, Alexandra Chen was you? Would it have mattered? I poured 2 glasses of water, habits of hospitality ingrained deeper than hurt. When I was just Sarah doing computer things, you made it clear I wasn't worth knowing. That's not, I didn't. She stopped, perhaps realizing that denial required energy she didn't have. How long? 2 years, incorporated the day after your engagement party. Her face crumpled. The website. You were showing me the website, and I dismissed it, yes. I sat across from her, maintaining the distance she'd created long before tonight. But that dismissal was a gift, Claire. It freed me from seeking approval from people who'd predetermined my worth. She was crying now, the kind of tears that ruin good makeup and reveal worse truths. I've been horrible. I know that. You were always so smart, so sure of yourself. I felt like the pretty one was all I had. If you were smart and successful and beautiful, what was left for me? The admission hung between us, like a bridge I could choose to cross or burn. Old Sarah would have rushed to comfort, to minimize my success to soothe her ego. Alexandra knew better. Claire, I said gently but firmly, my success doesn't diminish you, but your insecurity diminished us both. You made me invisible because you were afraid of being outshone. I became Alexandra because I was tired of dimming my light for your comfort. I want to fix this, she said desperately. We're sisters. You could come to the wedding now. You could give a speech. Imagine how impressed everyone would be. Preston's colleagues would die knowing we're related. The photos would be incredible. Tech billionaire celebrates sister's wedding. We could. No. The word fell like a gavel. She blinked, unaccustomed to my refusal. No, she repeated, as if the word was foreign. But I'm inviting you now. Isn't that what you wanted? I stood, walking to the window, where moonlight turned the ocean to liquid silver. 3 years ago, yes, I wanted an invitation. I wanted to belong in your life, and I wanted to matter enough to make the cut. But Claire, you're not inviting Sarah, your sister. You're inviting Alexandra Chen, the useful connection. And that's exactly why I'm declining. That's not true. I want my sister there. Which sister? I turned back to her. The one you called a drama risk, the one whose achievements embarrassed you, or the one whose net worth impresses your friends? She flinched at each question, truth landing like precise strikes. I know I was awful, but people change. I've changed. Seeing you tonight, hearing what you've built, I'm proud of you. No, I said softly. You're proud of being related to what I've become. There's a difference. You didn't need to know about my success to be proud of me, Claire. I was worth celebrating when I was debugging code at 3 a.m. I was worth inviting when I was eating ramen to save money. I was worth knowing when I was just Sarah. She stared at her hands, engagement ring catching the light like a tiny star. So what now? Nothing? You hate me forever. I don't hate you. The truth of it surprised me. Hating you would mean you still have power over my emotions. I nothing you, Claire. You're a stranger who happens to share my DNA. And strangers don't get invited to board meetings or weddings. The cruelty of indifference, my own words to Priya, reflected back at her. She stood abruptly, swaying slightly. I'm getting married tomorrow, she said, as if reminding herself. The biggest day of my life. Then you should rest. You'll want to look perfect for the photos. She walked to the door, then turned back one last time. The photographer, everyone's going to know. They're already posting about you. My wedding is going to be overshadowed by my sister, the tech genius. I almost laughed at the cosmic justice. Claire, I'll be gone before your ceremony starts. My announcement is at dawn, your wedding's at sunset. Different stages, different audiences. Your day remains yours. You're really not coming? I have a board meeting in Singapore. We're taking the company public. I opened the door for her. But I do have a wedding gift for you. From my desk, I retrieved an envelope, prepared weeks ago, when I'd learned about the wedding date. It's a donation to your honeymoon fund, the exact amount you said I'd never be able to afford. Consider it closure. She took the envelope with shaking hands. Inside was a check for $100,000, pocket change for Alexandra, a fortune for the sister who'd mocked Sarah's savings account. Alexandra, I corrected gently. Sarah was too good for you to see. Alexandra is too busy for you to know. I wish you every happiness, Claire. I genuinely do. Just wish it from a distance. She left without another word, designer pajamas disappearing into tropical darkness. I closed the door and returned to my presentation, adding one final slide. Success isn't about proving wrong those who doubted you. It's about proving right those who believed in you, starting with yourself. At 5 a.m., as the sun painted the sky impossible colors, I stood before cameras and satellites announcing MentorSphere's IPO to a global audience. Somewhere on the island, Claire slept off her tears and prepared for her perfect wedding. By the time she walked down the aisle in her customs gown, I was 30,000 feet above the Pacific, heading to Singapore to ring the opening bell on a new chapter. My phone filled with messages, congratulations on the IPO, shock from family members who'd connected the dots, requests for interviews about the secret sister angle. I archived them all without reading. Some stories don't need witnesses. Some exits don't require applause. That night, while Claire danced at her reception, I signed papers that would create 100 millionaires from my early employees. While she cut cake, I cut ribbons on safe houses in 12 countries. While she tossed her bouquet, I caught the future in both hands and refused to let go. The most elegant exit isn't slamming doors, it's walking through them so quietly that they don't realize you're gone until they need you. And by then, you've built new doors they'll never have keys to. 6 months later, I received a WhatsApp from Mom. No text, just a photo. Claire's divorce papers. The marriage that had excluded me lasted exactly 180 days. The surgeon who'd seemed so perfect had apparently been more interested in the Instagram version of Claire than the person who existed after the filters faded. He'd left her for a pharmaceutical rep who, according to Mom's follow-up voice note, appreciated his work-life balance better. I stared at the message from my new office, the top floor of a San Francisco high-rise where MentorSphere had grown to 500 employees. Through floor-to-ceiling windows, the city sprawled like a circuit board, all connection and possibility. The girl who'd been cropped from family photos now had her picture in the lobby of the New York Stock Exchange. The irony wasn't lost on me. Claire had spent $200,000 on a wedding that became a memory. I'd invested that same amount in a dream that became a movement. She'd built a day, I'd built a legacy. You should call her, Priya suggested during our morning meeting. extend an olive branch. Why? I asked genuinely. To comfort her through a divorce from a man I never met, for a wedding I wasn't invited to, in a life I was written out of? But the universe has a sense of humor about these things. That afternoon, my assistant knocked. "There's someone in the lobby. Says she's your sister. No appointment, but she's insistent." I found Claire in our reception area, dwarfed by the space's intentional grandeur. She looked smaller than I remembered, designer clothes replaced by jeans and a college sweatshirt I recognized from a lifetime ago. The Instagram princess had abdicated her throne. "I know you're busy," she started. I needed to see you." I led her to a conference room, the kind where billion-dollar decisions got made daily. She sat across from me like a job candidate, which, in a way, she was. "I've been thinking," she said, "about what you said, about being invisible. I get it now. Preston left me for someone younger, prettier, more supportive of his career. Suddenly, I was the one, cropped from photos, excluded from events, told I was too much drama. I became invisible in my own marriage. I'm sorry that happened to you. And I was, enemy or stranger, pain is pain. Don't be. It taught me what I put you through. Every dismissed achievement, every backhanded compliment, every time I made you feel small, so I could feel big. I did to you what he did to me, except worse. You couldn't divorce me. You were stuck with a sister who treated you like competition instead of family." She pulled out her phone, showing me something I never expected. My face, screenshots from Claire's Instagram posted over the last month. Photos from our childhood I didn't know existed. My MIT graduation she'd claimed to miss, my first apartment she'd never visited, each captioned with truths. My sister Sarah taught herself to code at 12. I told her to try makeup instead. She built her first app at 16. I told her to get a boyfriend instead. She created a billion-dollar company while I planned a failed marriage. Guess which one of us was the real success story? "Claire, you don't need to." "Yes, I do." Her voice was fierce now. "You know what the worst part is? You thanked me. In that Forbes interview, when they asked about your family, you said your sister's rejection taught you to validate yourself. You turned my cruelty into rocket fuel. You literally thanked me for being awful." Because it was true. Your rejection was supposed to break you, not inspire you, not launch you into the stratosphere while I stayed ground level, decorating a life that looked good in squares but felt empty in reality. She leaned forward. "Sarah, I'm not here for money. I'm not here for connections. I'm here because I finally understand what you tried to tell me. I made you invisible because I was terrified of being seen clearly myself." We sat in silence, two sisters separated by more than a conference table. Outside, San Francisco hummed with possibility. Inside, the past and present held their breath. "What do you want, Claire?" "To know my sister, the real one. Not Sarah who dimmed her light, not Alexandra who outgrew us all, but whoever you are now. I want to earn a place in your life, even if it's just Christmas cards and birthday texts. Even if it takes years, even if you never fully forgive me." I thought about the journey from invisible to undeniable, about the women whose lives had been saved by pain, transformed into purpose, about the family I'd built from chosen connections rather than forced relations, about the power of becoming so complete that you can open doors you once desperately knocked on. "I run a mentorship program," I said finally, "for women starting over. Divorce, career changes, identity reconstruction. No special treatment because you're my sister. You'd apply like everyone else. But if you're serious about rebuilding, about discovering who Claire is without the filters and facades, it might help. Her eyes filled with tears. You'd do that after everything? Not for the sister who excluded me, for the woman brave enough to admit she was wrong. That takes courage, Claire. Maybe there's hope for you yet. She left with an application packet and something more valuable, possibility. I watched her go, this stranger who shared my history, and felt something shift. Not forgiveness exactly, but the deeper piece of indifference transformed into compassion. My phone buzzed, another notification about the secret sister scandal, media outlets desperate to spin our story into clickbait. I deleted them all. Our real story wasn't about revenge or revelation. It was about resurrection, about how the dead parts of ourselves can fertilize new growth if we're brave enough to bury them properly. That night, I stood in my apartment, walls covered with vision boards and code snippets, photos of the team that had become family, letters from women whose lives we'd changed. No wedding photos, because I'd built something better than a marriage, a purpose that wouldn't leave when things got hard. I opened my laptop and started typing, "Dear Claire, the application is just a formality. You're already accepted. Not because you're my sister, but because anyone brave enough to rebuild deserves a second chance, even those who denied us our first. Welcome to the program. Welcome to becoming visible, to yourself first, then the world. Your sister, both versions, Sarah Alexandra Chen." The email sent at 11:47 p.m., the exact time she'd knocked on my door in the Maldives. Because timing is everything, and sometimes the best revenge is replacing it with grace. Somewhere in the city, a notification would light up her phone, a bridge rebuilt from the ashes of the one she'd burned, an invitation extended by someone who no longer needed invitations to know her worth. The ultimate refined revenge isn't making them suffer. It's becoming so whole that you can help them heal. That's not weakness. That's the kind of power that builds empires from pain and transforms rejection into resurrection. In the end, the best revenge is no revenge at all. Just a life so beautiful that bitterness can't survive in its light. Did this story of transformation resonate with you? Welcome to Refined Revenge, where we believe the best payback is a life well lived. Every week, we share true stories of people who turned their deepest wounds into their greatest strengths. No violence, no cruelty, just the elegant art of succeeding so brilliantly that karma handles the rest. Subscribe now to join our community of phoenixes who know that revenge is a dish best served, successful. Hit the notification bell to catch stories that will heal your heart while feeding your soul. Because sometimes the most powerful I'll show you is simply showing up as your best self. What's your refined revenge story? Share in the comments below.